was a bit of a disappointment on that day. Could only finish fifth to Sun Princess with Acclimatise and New Coins ahead of her. So she's turned the form over there. Acclimatise, of course, was third here this afternoon, but New Coins, although coming with a bit of a promising run halfway up the straight, was never able to go through with it. The third filly here, Acclimatise, who scored last term at the scored twice in fact last term, but is still to get off the mark this term. I'm sure her turn will come, but while we take a last look at these fillies in the unsaddling enclosure here at Haydock, this is the moment to get the returns on the race, the Lancashire Oaks, from John Tyrrell.
Thank you, Rory. First, number 3, Give Thanks, 4-1 co-favourite. Second, number 16, Ski Sailing, 4-1 co-favourite. And third, number 2, Acclimatise, 11-2. The other co-favourite was Jolly Bay, and 13 ran. At Bath in the 3 o'clock, first, number 1, Reggae, 11-10 favourite. Second, number 3, Broken Habit, 3-1. And third, number 4, Umzuri, 11-2, 4 ran.
Well, not just a mudlark, is she? That's the first thing Jim Bolger said to the press as Declan Gillespie brought Give Thanks into the unsaddling enclosure, and how right he was. Definite target for Give Thanks is the Yorkshire Oaks in August, and a possible one is the Irish Guinness Oaks. But then Jim said, I'm not bothered if she doesn't come out of this well enough to run, he said, because I've got Flame of Tara, who's not a bad substitute. No excuses from Steve Cawthon on Ski Sailing, simply not good enough, he said, on the day. 2 pieces of news from earlier in the afternoon. The stewards held an inquiry after Regal Steel had won the Old Newton Cup, because prior to today he'd finished only 9th in the Bessborough handicap at Royal Ascot, and they asked Reg Hollinshead to explain the improvement in form. I put it down to the ground, but Reg said it wasn't that. He said the horse had been slightly wrong just before Royal Ascot, and he needed the race and blew up. Should have worked that day. One other piece of news, there's an extra meeting here for Haydock members or people wanting to come up for an evening out. Friday, August the 12th, first race, 5:45. Come along. It's always good sport here, good facilities, particularly with this new stand. It's been a splendid afternoon sport. Belong very much to the Irish and the Edderies. Join us again next Saturday for another ITV7. In the meantime, back to Fred in the studio.
Thank you very much indeed to Jim McGrath and the rest of the ITV racing team at Haydock Park. Let's take a look now at the final ITV7 total with John Tyrrell.
And this afternoon's total to a 10-pence stake, £3,937 and 50p.
Well, a marvellous afternoon, of course, for Pat Eddery at Sandown Park. A superb treble for him, beginning with Netski in the 145, Thorndown in the 215, and the one that must have pleased him most of all in the 255, the Coral Eclipse Stakes. That, of course, was Salford. Pat Eddery talking now with Bruff Scott.
Patrick, many congratulations. A really brilliant tactical ride, it seemed.
Well, I expected them to go a very good pace, but they went so slow, and you know, the race was turned into a 4-furlong sprint, really. And, you know, it helps the fast horses then. And I had to be up there, so I didn't have any ground to make up. And I followed Tom Mio all the way, and I hoped to get a lead off him into the furlong marker, and it went right. But he's a much better horse, a mile and a half, and he wants a pace.
When you went there, of course, the speeders were coming at you at the end. Do you think you were going to hold on all right?
Well, you know, as you said before, he never wins very far, and he's that sort of horse, you know. He just does enough, and he's real good.
Well, at the beginning of the year, you were saying you didn't know which of the O'Brien horses was best. You've had Carrion win a derby on him, Lomond you won a Guineas on. Is this perhaps the best of them all?
Well, I thought last year he was the best as a 2-year-old, but then he rather disappointed his second race, and he only won his short head. But he was a very weak horse, and Mr. O'Brien said out of two of the real good horses he's trained over the years, Golden Fleece and this horse, the only two that have put on a lot of weight over the winter and got strong. And it's helped this horse a lot.
He's a big, heavy machine. Must be hard work pushing him.
No, he's not. He's a real well-balanced horse. Once you get him into his stride, he's a lovely ride. And he's pretty good.
So 3 very nice winners, including Salford for Pat Eddery so far at Sandown, and as far as I know, he's still got 3 more left. Careen, Crispin and Blue Emmanuel. Well, for racing lovers, there is a marvellous 5 days of racing ahead for you next week here on ITV. Our coverage opens on Tuesday at 2:30 with 3 races from Newmarket, including the Princess of Wales Stakes. On Wednesday, 3 more races from Newmarket, including the Anglia Television July Stakes. And on Thursday, again at 2:30, 3 races from Newmarket, the featured race being the William Hill July Cup. On Friday, the ITV racing team moves to York, 3 races from the lovely Knavesmire, with a start time of 2:30. And on Saturday in World of Sport, an ITV7 from York and Ayr, including coverage of the day's big race, John Smith's Magnet Cup at York. So, as I say, a great week of racing on ITV, of course. Tennis news now, and with another devastating Wimbledon performance, Martina Navratilova has taken her 4th women's singles title, dropping only 3 games in a straight sets win over Andrea Jaeger of the United States. Miss Jaeger won only 9 points in a really disastrous first set, which she lost 6-love. She managed 3 games in the second set for Miss Navratilova, clinched the match at 6-3 in just 54 minutes. Well, now cycling, and today marks the first stage of this year's Tour de France, the world's greatest cycle race, of course. Yesterday, the riders went through their paces in the 5.5-kilometre prologue in the outskirts of Paris, the traditional curtain raiser to the big event. Well, that was won by a Belgian, Eric van der Aarden, a 21-year-old. He gains the leader's yellow jersey. Australia's Phil Anderson was 4th. So the riders set off on the 2,400-mile journey around France in this, the 80th anniversary year. Well, early this afternoon, they began the 159-kilometre trip from Nogent-sur-Marne to Créteil, a stage that really ought to suit the sprinters. Well, we can now go live to France to join Phil Liggett for the climax of the very first stage.
And here we have the 2 riders now just ahead of a chasing group. That's first Osterbosch in the green jersey, being joined here now by André Chapuis. So Osterbosch on the right at the front, Chapuis at the back, and with them too, Charlie Berard of France. This is the closing stages now of the first day in the Tour de France, and this could be the breakaway that counts. André Chapuis looks over his shoulder now, the breakaway having just formed in the last 2 or 3 kilometres, and in this group coming up, a white jersey of Stephen Roche of Ireland. Roche has sensed this breakaway couldn't succeed. There he is, in second spot. With him too, we have Marc Madiot, Jacques Bossis, all the riders are virtually from France, with the exception of Wynants of Holland, Stephen Roche of Ireland. And the Dublin rider today knows that he could well take the lead in this Tour de France in the opening week if he can manage to get into a breakaway that succeeds in these closing miles. The main field now, which has tried and in fact has succeeded in staying in contention for all of the day's 100 miles, may have made the mistake of allowing this group to get away. Well, Osterbosch there in green, wearing number 26. He was second overall this morning, just 2 seconds behind. But because of a selective system of bonus sprints throughout the day, he's lost a little bit of ground, and he slipped down the classification, because the man who's been doing all the winning of the sprints has been the overall leader, Eric van der Aarden, the 21-year-old Belgian rider. He's won 2 of the sprints today, and the 2 sprints have also been won by Sean Kelly. So an attack now by Charles Berard. The whole field, or the breakaway, still just ahead of the whole field, being led on now by Jacques Bossis of France. Bossis comes up, doing a good job of work here for his teammate Stephen Roche, because Roche, and never before could we say this on the Tour de France, has started this race as a favourite to win in Paris in 3 weeks' time, and there he goes in white, and that's the first time since the race began in 1903 that an English-speaking man has been tipped to win the Tour de France. And how this man is living up to his name now. A fabulous ride yesterday when he finished 6th in the Prologue time trial. A half a second quicker time would have put him in 4th spot. And now, as we come towards the closing stages of this first day, Roche has sensed the winning move. And I hope I haven't preempted that decision, because here are the field, and they're only just a little way down the road. The whole stage today has been a tour of the Val de Marne, the valley of the River Marne, and what a tremendous day it's been in lovely sunshine. The riders have gone around the southwest of Paris, always in built-up areas, and of course always afraid that the twists and turns, the sudden roundabouts, the traffic lights, the straw bales would have created a pile-up. So far, no reports of crashes. The main field seem to have taken things a little bit carefully, and I suppose I would too if I was facing a further 2,300 miles after today. But this breakaway in the last few kilometres, the last, in fact, 6 miles, has gone clear. Well, I think it's possibly too much to expect Stephen Roche to win the stage. He'll be glad with any escape that succeeds to gain time over riders like his Irish countryman, Sean Kelly, and of course Joop Zoetemelk, who's in that back bunch. And now we have 3 miles to go to the finish, through the village of Maison-Alfort, and still one rider, and I think it's Charlie Berard, just ahead of the field, or the breakaway rather. Berard here trying very, very hard now to give France a first victory, and what a result this would be, because Berard is a teammate of Bernard Hinault. Hinault, of course, out of the Tour de France for the first time since 1980 because of an injured knee. And look at the gap now. So is he doing this for France, or is he doing it as a show of defiance in the absence of teammate Bernard Hinault? Hinault, I'm sure, will be at home in Brittany watching television, and I wonder what he's saying when he sees his own teammate riding for victory today. There's the chasing group containing Bernd Osterbosch, the TI Rally rider who said he wants the yellow jersey before the first week he's out. At the moment he's riding in the green jersey as points leader. Also in that group, Stefan Roche of Ireland. Berard now totally committed. A beautiful riding style, gritting his teeth now. A total effort. If this fails, he knows he will finish nowhere in the big sprint. Little glance over his shoulder to see what the progress is like. Well, it's good at the moment. Now we can see. There's a good gap there, but they're still there. There's a long way to go if you're out there on your own. 2.5 miles to go to the finish. Berard, corners tight, good line. Accelerates well out the saddle. You can see there his saddle is yellow, and that's because the saddle is part of the equipment of Bernard Hinault, who's wore more yellow jerseys in the Tour de France than anyone since the days of Eddy Merckx and Jacques Anquetil. Both, of course, now retired some years ago, and both having won the Tour de France 5 times. And Hinault had hoped that this year would have been his turn to have joined the exclusive famous 5 club. Well, it didn't look much of a hill as we look back there, but it is quite a rise, and when you're totally committed now and having to do something like 30 miles an hour, it's quite a climb. And Charlie Berard living with pain now, hoping against hope that they'll hesitate just long enough for him to get to the finish line. You can see here in the replay the effort he's putting in. The muscles in his legs there showing out well. Something like 80 races already in his legs this year, and now he's facing 23 days in the Tour de France and 2,400 miles. But all these riders, of course, take the race day by day. For some, they want the final yellow jersey and the prize worth £17,000. For others, like Berard, they want the day's victory and, frankly, don't give a thought about tomorrow. Berard wants that victory now. He's riding alone. He's riding very strongly. Certainly in this chasing group, there is no one that's going to slow down the pace, except perhaps Marc Madiot, his teammate. Osterbosch comes round the corner first, prominent in that green jersey. Osterbosch knows the time gain today could mean that tomorrow, when the team time trial takes the riders up towards the north of France, that is the day TI Rally will enjoy most. They're rarely ever beaten in a team time trial. That's when the team races alone on the road. Fastest team wins the day. And that is the day when Rally could well take over the yellow jersey. So this might be the foundations today for a Rally victory tomorrow. And Osterbosch has got the gap he wants in that second group on the road. And he'll desperately ride hard now to try and at least keep that group away from the field. 3 kilometres to go now, just under 2 miles to the finish, and we're on the outskirts of Créteil. The road should be good from now on. Berard is surviving, and surviving well. Still an anxious look over his shoulder. Can he win this stage in the Tour de France? Charlie Berard of France. He'll keep to the right. He'll take the shortest route home he can possibly find. There's a huge crowd assembled at the finishing line for this Tour finish in Créteil, and the field must be under pressure because they're in a long straight line, and 140 riders started the Tour this morning. So this group will stretch over about 400 or 500 yards, and there you can see it. So inside 3 kilometres to go to the finish now, and Charlie Berard corners just ahead of a group containing Stephen Roach of Ireland, Bert Osterbosch of Holland, and the man that started the breakaway, a little Frenchman called Pierre Lebigot. There's the main field now. And from the helicopter, we go up the road. There's the group containing Roche. This is going to be some finish. There's nothing in it at all now. And we go a little bit further. There's an attack down there by Vinance in the red on the left of the road. And there's the leader. What a finish this is going to be. What a finish now. And one has to feel sorry, I think, for Charlie Berard. He may be losing this Tour de France in the this stage of the Tour de France. There's the kite. 1 kilometre from the finish now, just a little over half a mile, and he could be caught on the line. He's gone for the crowd to try and hide himself. Right close in the gutter now. We look back, there's the whole field coming up. So Roach is about to be caught. And I think Eric van der Erden, who's the overall leader this morning in yellow, has done enough to conserve his lead in the race. He's won 2 of the special sprints. He's gained in all 32 seconds in time bonus. Sean Kelly has gained 24 seconds in time bonus already. There's a half a minute more bonus for the winner on the line. A really complicated day. And Charlie Berard now hanging on to the finish as he approaches the line. The whole field, including Jan Ross, the new champion of Holland, is on the front of this field. Sean Kelly has proved earlier today, look at the pack, they're all across the road. Berard is going to be caught in sight of the finishing banner. Berard hasn't got it now. In green in the middle is Osterbosch. Watch out for Sean Kelly now. In the middle too, it looks to me as though we have the champion of France, Marc Gomez, is there. And look at that crowd as the race comes in towards the finish. The whole field has caught Charlie Berard on the line. Somewhere out of this pack could well come Sean Kelly. A jostling pack comes up towards the line now, and there's no idea who's going to hit it first, and they come up to the line now, and the winner on the line was Frits Pierrot from Holland, and that for Frits Pierrot is his first ever win in the Tour de France. He denied Sean Kelly, he denied Jan Ross, the perfect ending to an excellent day's racing around Paris. You can see here in the replay on the left there, Frits Pierrot. He stole a length on the sprinters. You can see in the background behind him the yellow jersey of Eric van der Erden. But as they hit the line, Pierrot wins by a length, and van der Erden is just out of the sprint, but he will conserve his yellow jersey. So what a magnificent finish to that race, and one has to feel terribly, terribly sorry for Charlie Berard. Frits Pierrot is the winner, and wouldn't you be all smiles if you've just won your first ever stage in the Tour de France?
Well, there is the confirmation. A great victory for Frits Pierrot of Holland. In second place, Jean-Louis Gaultier of France. And third, Pascal Zuel of France. Makes no difference, though, to the yellow jersey. That's still being worn by the winner of the prologue, the 21-year-old Belgian, Eric van der Eyden, who'd never worn it before. And to gauge some idea of the importance of the yellow jersey, one of the riders said this week it's worth dying to wear the yellow jersey. Well, we'll continue our coverage of the Tour de France here on World of Sport, of course, next Saturday. Next today, except for viewers in the Yorkshire television area who are back to Harrogate for more cricket, we'll have hot rod racing for the Championship of the World. So it's hot rods next on World of Sport.